you want waffles?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles. We have a very special guest on the show this morning. I'm excited. Zach, can you tell the fine people at home who you is, why you're here, and what your favorite set of dice is? And also, I'm coming up with random things for you to. What is the best?
You're missing the obvious thing.
What is-
Obvious thing, man.
There's an obvious one. What is the best type of kobold?
Today's National Tea Day. Today's National Tea Day.
It is National Tea Day. That's
everybody. So it's going to either be what your favorite tea is, or
Favorite
what
tea is a
flavor
good
of
one.
tea. What flavor of tea would Kobold Press be?
true. If kobolds were tea, what flavor of tea is a kobold? That's a good one.
I think
We'll go
it's
with-
just
we'll go with
dirt and
that.
hot water.
It's just dirt and hot water. That's very
Yeah. And they're like,
That's
look,
how I
I
feel
made
about
you
regular
tea.
tea.
yeah.
That's how I
It's
feel
just
about
dirt and
regular
hot
tea,
water.
though.
Kobolds are
Hi,
just
guys.
like if you just take regular leaves off of a tree or something
my
and
God.
put them into a pot
Yup.
of hot water, and they're like,
It's just they
"Tea!"
grab a fistful out of a bush and just throw it in hot water.
It's like the
starting off
like
strong.
have you ever seen like a holly bush that has the like really pricky leaves?
Yes.
Those in hot water is a kobold.
Yep. And they're like, eat the leaves too. They're tasty.
Crunchy.
Roughage.
But to answer all of your amazing questions, hi guys, I'm Zach. I am the social media and community manager at Kobold Press. We are here today to discuss tea leaves, kobolds, and our new game system, Tales of the Valiant. My favorite dice set. I have some resin dice that are meant to look like the inside of an aquarium.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Yeah, so like some they have like fake coral or little fishies. That's
Nice.
probably my favorite dice set.
Each die has like different stuff in it.
Yeah, different
That's
stuff.
really
Yep.
cool. I like that a lot. One of my buddies has a one that is supposed to look like a bathtub, and so they have little they have like water, and then there's like little rubber ducks in each of them.
I love
and
it.
it's so good. I love that. I'm a huge. I've talked about this on the stream many times. I'm a huge fan of Kobold Press. I like their stuff a lot. I have. It's probably the
Within arm's reach. Yeah, within arm's reach.
I
know
have Deep
there's
Magic
something.
1 and 2 here. I have the Southlands. I can't read; it's too dark. Southlands,
the Southlands
and City of Cats. I have Tomb of
Amazing book.
Beasts 1 through 3, Creature Codex. I'm a fan. Love the stuff. I have said it before. I will say it again. If people are looking for things that are like, what is official 5e content that's not actually official 5e content, I always point them towards the like monster books. They're fantastic. You guys
heart.
do excellent work.
Thank you so
I
much.
am excited to talk with you today.
I'm excited to be here.
So I want to just dive right in because there's so much that I want to talk to you about.
We have a detailed outline. We have its pages.
So much stuff. I am not looking at the outline at all. No,
I know you're not.
I have it up. The first thing I want to do, because here's the thing. Junie very, very graciously has gone through our like extensive Google sheet and filled out all of the different like little holidays and stuff. And as he has said, it is National Hot Tea Day. And so we are going to be asking over and over again for you to spill the tea. I feel like since we want to talk about Tales of the Valiant, it's only right that we start with, can you spill the tea? Last year around this time,
Almost
there
today.
almost to the day, there was just really fun decisions made by a different company, and Tales of the Valiant kind of was announced very close behind that. Um,
Yeah.
was Tales of the Valiant something that was like already in the works, or was that something that was like, oh, this is a thing that is happening, and we want to make sure that we are like moving forward and providing an alternate? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I can provide an answer to that.
yeah.
So yes, Tales of the Valiant, previously known as Project Black Flag, was not far in development, but far into ideation, and it was very much a want for the company to move in this direction prior to
Mhm,
January 3rd, or I think it's third. I think it might have been fourth as well, but the early January of
mhm.
last year. Um, yeah, I want to say you can even look at like the origin of the Valiant RPG Twitter account. It's like summer of the year prior.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Awesome. So it was like you guys were already looking to do that, and then it was just a like fantastic timing of like,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
we
like
want to
you
do
look
this
at
anyway.
you look at publishers like for example, like I think someone who we can look to as like a peer for comparison, right? Is
Hmm.
MTDM. Like,
Yeah.
and Colville talks about this very publicly. Like he always wanted to make his own game. Like that was
Hmm.
always the intention, right? It's just what happened accelerated the rate
Right.
at which he decided to do it.
Right.
And it's the exact same thing for us.
Awesome. Yeah, there were so many different like people that were coming out and doing additional stuff around that time. Like
Yeah.
this time last year was a wild time to be in the
It's
TTRPG
crazy.
space, because it was just like
Yeah.
everything was on fire. It was like
Yeah.
that gif from Community of like Troy walking in with the pizza boxes and
Yeah.
the whole room is just on fire. That's how I felt every time I booted up Twitter last year around
Yeah.
around this time. But
I
yeah.
didn't boot up Twitter. Like, I was
Yeah.
just like, I have to rethink my life apparently, so I need to just hold on now and what's going on with everything.
Yeah. It was a wild time. But like the with your guys's one, because originally Project Black Flag, I'm a huge pirate fan. So anytime I see like anything that's remotely piratey, I'm already
Yeah.
on board. And then it was you guys, so I'm further on board. Um, the Project Black Flag had been around for a little bit. The Tales of the Valiant was like the is the new like name for it.
Mhm.
You had mentioned before we went live that it is like it is 5e compatible.
Yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. So one of the things that we really like to brag about our system is we have two core rule books, one additional rule book, but you really only need one of the core rule books to play the game.
Nice.
That's the player's guide. Um, so the way we do things is like I said, it's 5e compatible. If you could basically like take all your same assumptions of 5e, add in a couple of our mechanics, which are things like luck, our new
Nice.
monster designs,
Hmm.
or our new suggestions in the game master's guide for things like variant rules, like underwater combat, advanced exploration, and then you're playing Tales of the Valiant. um the like direct one-to-one comparison for like compatibility, I'll take like a character class for example, right?
Hmm.
In 5e, characters gain their class features and subclass features at various levels. In COV, it's uniform, and we actually are planning on releasing a conversion and guide that shows you how to change, like for example, like
Ooh.
if you have your favorite subclass from a third party publisher, right? In a 5e system, it shows you how to convert that to be a TOV subclass. So
Cool.
it's very simple of like you adjusting the levels. And then same thing for creatures. Creatures, honestly, you could take 5e creatures and put them up against TOV players.
Mhm.
It's just TOV players are going to be able to kick their butts a lot easier.
Nice. So the power scale is a little bit different for a TOV versus a D&D character.
Yeah, I mean, Kobold Press has always been known. We've always been known, like in our monster books, things hit a little bit harder,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we very much like to give players a challenge and a run for their money, right?
Yeah.
It's a hero's journey, and we make sure they earn the title hero.
Mhm.
Um, so with that, we wanted to, kind of raise the stakes on everything a little bit because we felt like it 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 just was more in our nature, right?
Mhm.
And we wanted to make the best version of the game that we could make. So
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, there's so I'm talking about the monsters, like the one of the things that I love about the books is that I can pull things out of there that are like very very close to the monsters that I'm throwing out from like regular D&D.
yeah,
Of like if I want to throw out an undead, or I want to throw out like some kobold or goblins or anything like that, I can do so. But I can pull like one thing, like one of them out of one of the Kobold Press monster books that is just like better, and like that's the chief or the war leader or whatever of these goblins is this other one, and that one hits harder, feels worse. Like that it's gonna be a bit more like aggressive. But there's
yeah.
just cooler, like you guys do cool mechanics, you do cool abilities that the when players are used to fighting the same things over and over again, they get used to how they interact and how they react to things. And the monsters in the Kobold Press ones are varied, and I love that.
And that's one thing that you're going to see a lot more of in TOV,
Hmm.
right? For example, our monster vault is a lot of the monsters that are in Creative Commons, but they've been reworked and retooled. Our lead dev editor, I can't tell you how many hours in co-working I've spent with her, where she's looking up the most obscure facts about fantasy creatures to figure out how to make this creature like really individual,
Hmm.
right? Like I remember sitting with her and in a co-working call for like 2 hours, and we were just talking about how the different ways we could make the Afridi use fire, right? Like just
Okay.
like we talked about like fire dancing. We talked about
Hmm.
like the different ways that like Eastern and Western European countries used fire as lighting, how they used it in terms of like the different ways they actually lit it, the different
Hmm.
things that they used to burn for fire. Yeah, it's amazing how that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is how individualized every creature is. No stat block feels like it just got like, oh yeah, let me make a cat. No, like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
actually has something that has in it that makes it unique and iconic.
There's none that are
I
like this is
yeah.
this is this one, but this one has a knife. Like
Yeah.
it's just each one
Yeah.
feels like its own
This
like
one's a
own
knife
thing.
and is blue. Yeah.
Yeah. This
Uh
is a kobold. This is a kobold with a gun. Like it's just each one feels unique. Uh
Oh my gosh.
I really like that you were like you described that collaboration, the level that you're going into it. Something I didn't realize, like just going into like when I started, 5e, like oh, goblin's a goblin and all stuff,
Mhm.
and then learning just the real world things that can be behind certain monsters, both
Mhm.
good and bad. That
Mhm.
there's like real legends or like stereotypes or
Yeah.
biases and stuff like that that can
Yeah.
be in things. You're saying you're involved in this process. Um, your writer, are there other ways that they bring in other members of the team, the community? How
Mhm.
like how
Mhm.
are other viewpoints and perspectives brought into that creating process?
Yeah, so I mean, like on top of our design team of freelancers and on staff writers who are constantly collaborating, I can't say how many times like they've brought up things in like in a marketing meeting or in a convention meeting, right, just like as a joke, or like, oh my god, XYZ does that, reminds me of XYZ, and then we say something, and then next thing you know, like I like talking about the Afridi, we were like trying to figure out, because like there's only so many ways you can talk about fire as like an ability name,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so like that was us going through a thesaurus and figuring out how to say firewall without saying firewall. And so I,
Gotcha.
I I ended up naming the firewall ability of the Afridi, and we called it Blazing Palisade. Right?
Ooh,
Ooh,
palisade
that's
is a
good.
good
That's good.
word.
I
That's
know,
really
right?
good.
I was like,
Yeah.
people are gonna look that one up. I'm glad
Yeah.
people are gonna spend time with
That's
that creature.
Yeah.
Um,
You are
but talking
educating
about
people.
like yeah, but
Yeah.
like talking about like you mentioned like the biases of creatures and
Mhm.
things like that. So that's actually one thing that COV gets rid of. So when it comes to the like direction that we give you on creatures, like one of my biggest gripes with 5e is that 5e is not designed in a sandbox. It's
Mhm.
designed within the Forgotten Realms,
Mhm.
right? So when I read the lore on any one thing in the in the DMG, the PHB, it tells me about that thing in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
We
In
tell
that
you about it
context,
in
yeah.
generic fantasy. So
Hmm.
this is like our general guideline for how this creature would act in a fantasy setting, but your world and your setting, you get to create the culture, right?
Nice.
And we even take that into player options where we actually separate, like, how like the complicated history of things like drow, for example,
Mhm.
in 5e, right? We remove all of that and we separate it. So we have no more race. We now have lineage and heritage, which is like your nurture and your nature, right? Your what are you,
Hmm.
and then what's your culture. So it's just small things like that where we actually put the power back in the GM's hands to create that sort of thing, right?
Very cool. So is the whole thing like setting agnostic, or do you guys have a setting as well, or is the whole thing designed to be like plug and play?
I mean, the official setting of Kobold Press is Midgard, and
Sure.
Midgard's not going anywhere, right? You can see that from the bajillions of books we post every year about Midgard. And we love that setting to death.
Mhm.
But in terms of like the setting we tell you to play in,
Sure.
it's just fantasy. Like it's a fantasy game, right? So
Mhm.
we tell you this is your typical fantasy, but you're able to flavor it. Like I'm using TOV to run cyberpunk and sci-fi, right?
Nice.
Because that's my whole thing. I love sci-fi. I love
Yeah.
space opera. But like our other people in our company are going to go run horror.
Mhm.
Other people in our company are going to go run fantasy. It's just like you get to take it and play with it how you will, but the game's designed for fantasy.
Very cool. I like that a lot. I've always said that there's a lack of like there's a lack of thought put into the home game
Yeah,
for like D&D quite often. It is like if you're running it for our thing, like if you are running our game in our setting like as A, B, and C, there's a lot
yeah.
of like there is a lot of lore there that you can dig into. But if it's your own thing, they don't provide a whole lot of like, well, this is just the basics of this thing. This is like how they interact and stuff. It's all through the lens of
Well,
the
they got to get you
Forgotten
to buy the next
Realms.
book, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and they gotta sell me books and then eventually be like, oh, by the way, both of those books are no longer anything and they're combined into this other thing. I'm still salty that like Volos and Mordenkainen's are both like, oh yeah, those books are nothing anymore. They're both now in Monsters of the Multiverse. And it's like, okay, but I have 95% of that book already in these two other books. Like, why do I need a third book? I'm still salty about it. And I will be forever. But it unrelated.
Don't worry, kobolds hold grudges too,
Yeah. And shiny things.
and shiny
Um,
things, and apparently tea water
well, I mean, you gotta.
or
How
leaf
how
water,
else how else is
not tea
how
water.
else is a
That's not
kobold
tea.
gonna wake up in the morning if they're not
I
drinking
know, right? I
mouthfuls of
need my
hot holly
my
leaves?
hot cup of holly water.
Hunter, you didn't read the top part of the thing, but I'm gonna still say it. uh, we have an intern named Jerry, right? It's our Kobold intern named Jerry,
Mhm.
and we
Okay.
meant to warn you on the front end of things that he might make repeated attempts to hand you a resume and cover letter, but don't just ignore him. And it's not a good look. It's really unprofessional. I know why Hunter skipped that joke, but I don't care. I still want to say it. Uh,
I did just Google holly leaves are not poisonous, but their berries are. And I feel like if
Oh,
they're
mhm.
if kobolds are making if kobolds are making tea out of the leaves,
we're not
they're
that
not that
keen. We're
careful.
not that
There's a lot
slick.
of berries that are ending up in that tea.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
We're
like, oh,
gonna have to send
this is a berry
couple
that
kobolds to
that
the
would taste
infirmary.
good in in tea. Yeah. I also like the concept of like vampires attacking a little camp of kobolds, and
Oh, don't
all
say
the
that.
kobolds throwing their tea at them because it's holly water, and they've misunderstood
Yes,
what they
we thought it
need.
was holy water.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
sort of
good.
high quality content that people come to this stream for.
Fuck yeah.
Oh man.
So I keep thinking of new things I do want to mention at some point. Uh, but this is a later question.
Sure.
But for right now, we were going over last year how the world imploded and stuff like that. How would you describe the community reaction to Tales of the Valiant? Like I know there's been a lot of feedback, and I've seen a lot of like response to that feedback.
Yeah.
Like, how would you just describe like a vibe check if you had to give a vibe check to the community? Because I know at first it was full blown, like a lot of people jumping ship on anything. But
Yeah.
then it was also
Hmm.
like this is also real cool, and then it got like, in my opinion, like its own clout of just being like this is dope, 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 dope. What would you say the general vibe is going forward right here? Like, how what kind of feedback have you guys gotten?
Yeah. So, fun note. Uh, the OGL thing, like I think the first thing that really blew it all up was a leaked document. I think that was the
Hmm.
4th of January. My starting date at Kobold Press was January 1st. So,
Hey, all right,
um,
Oh
and then
man.
hit the
January
ground
So
10th
running.
you
we
really
announced Black
were
Flag.
you really were that the Troy gif of like walking into
You
the
came in and
Yeah.
everything was on fire.
yeah,
All
Yeah,
right.
quite
wild.
literally. It and so it was very insane and fast paced. You know, trying to one like just like onboard me right and be like,
You
here's
didn't
how we
even
use
make
our
it through the
project
full
management
week.
software. Here's the logins for all of our social media.
Here's
And
the
by
on
the
fire
way,
garbage
we
can.
might have to convert to our own system because this one's not going to exist anymore.
Hmm.
Um, Oh, okay, cool. All of that within about 72 hours. Um,
Oh my
and
goodness.
so it was insane for me, is what I will
Yeah.
say.
I can't even
And
imagine that.
a lot of it has been a blur.
Okay.
But
I can understand that.
I think the number one thing to note is, uh, you know, at first it was anger, it was frustration, it was
Hmm.
sadness, right? Um, because a lot of people, I mean, myself included, tabletop pays my bills, right?
Hmm.
Like this is my lifeblood. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 9 years old.
Hmm.
So to try to rip that away from us is it we're in a reality where that's no longer the case, right? And so
Hmm.
thankfully that is the truth. Um, and as time went on, it really came to down to people want an alternative, people want an alternate route, and you know, we there were a lot of directions we could have gone with Tales of the Valiant. This is the one we
Sure.
chose to do because ultimately we love fifth edition, right? There are gripes that people have with it, sure, right? Is it perfect? No, no system's perfect,
Hmm.
right? Uh, and so what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it the best version that it could be. And so that's ultimately what we're doing is we're taking the core of 5e gaming and we're moving on with it. What we saw from the community really was a rally behind that. A lot of
Hmm.
people were also confused. They thought we were going to do something entirely different. Um, and in another reality, that probably is the case. But we are really attached to this, and
Hmm.
we think it's awesome, honestly, is that we don't have to like go through the whole thing of like, oh well, it's not like that anymore.
Hmm.
No, like people get to feel
Hmm.
right at home, and that's something that people really latched onto. I mean, even today, over a year later now,
Yeah.
right? People are still latched onto the fact that I'm so excited that I get to take this and I get to, explore all of these new mechanics and new
Hmm.
design and new practice, but I don't have to go through the process of like, oh, am I gonna like it? I already know half the game,
Right.
right? I know half the fun. So the that's really what has been like the thing that people latch on to is the familiarity with the combination of the new things to explore and enjoy.
It decreases the barrier for entry. It's not like
Yeah.
this insurmountable. It's like, oh yeah, like I know when people tried, my friends first tried to show me like 5e, they dumped 12 books in front of me and said, okay, so before you do anything, we got to think of a background. And I said, can you just tell me if I'm vaguely British? Can you just like, tell me something and then that's it? I want to just get in.
Sure.
And I know with 5e, it was really quick to just kind of like I tell people like for not just 5e, for a lot of TTRPGs, like I'm gonna hand you a character sheet, but don't worry about it. We're gonna start and we're gonna look at this thing when we go, and mechanics will be explained and we can go through it like that. Um I know one thing that helps me a lot is or digital tools.
Hmm.
Um are there any uh plans, like PDFs are a godsend, because it's like I can
Yeah.
search, and plan things like that. Do you know if there's any sort of like I know there's a lot of VTT support, but did you are you able to talk on any like digital
Yeah.
solutions or VTT stuff for Tales of Valiant? That's
Yeah.
maybe pipe
So
dream, even if it's like not like, oh, this is 100%, but like things you'd like to do.
I'll give you the philosophy in the most blunt way possible.
Hmm.
Um, all the OGL stuff was around one company wanting to control every aspect of tabletop, right? That's the VTT, that's the sales, that is the creation, and in some aspects, that's even the GM and players. Uh, we're like, you want to know what? We do enough things. We have enough. Am I allowed to curse on this show?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
I Okay. We have enough shit on our hands, dude. Like,
canceled.
but like we have
Shut it
It
enough
was a
shit
down.
on our
trap.
hands.
Shut 'em
Let's
down.
let the people who have been doing this for literal decades
Yeah.
keep doing their thing and do it well.
Hmm.
So we're not making our own VTT ever
Hmm.
by any means. That's not in our cards, not in our plans right now. But in terms of the VTT support for Tales of the Valiant, it's coming everywhere. The alpha release is already on the majority of VTTs.
Hmm.
It's on Demiplane. It's on uh, Foundry, Roll 20, Fantasy Grounds, Shard. Um, the full game set to release on all of those.
Is it problematic for me to ask you what your favorite BTT is? Is that would you be
I
would
don't
you
think
are you
so.
like I don't know if you're just
My
like
favorite
you say
VTT
this
is
and everybody's like,
Alchemy.
"I can't believe Zach said that."
My
What is
favorite
it?
VTT is Alchemy RPG. It's a
Heck
theater
yeah.
of the
Okay.
mind
Yeah.
and cinematic focused VTT.
Yep. Love Alchemy.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the show.
Amazing
Mhm.
people.
Yeah. Amazing team, amazing product. Like I absolutely love Alchemy. I have their one of their founder boxes and back to their Kickstarter and stuff.
As
Like
do I.
they're fantastic.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I love those guys. It's been a pleasure working with them. I got to have a really good deep combo with their community manager at PAX Unplugged,
Hmm.
and it just like for the 5 billionth time just reaffirmed how much I love that fucking system,
Hmm.
and that VTT. It's so good. I love it. I use it for every game. All my paid games that I do and start playing, I use Alchemy. All my home game, even my home game, I'll use Alchemy when we have like a player who needs to zoom in. I'll create an alchemy session for them. So
Nice.
yeah, I love that VTT. That being said, I do love all of our VTT partners, but that's the one I
Mm.
primarily use.
Yeah, Alchemy. I have so much content on Alchemy, and at this point, it's just like I'm so far into most of my campaigns. Like I'm 2.5 years into most of my campaigns.
Yeah.
I don't like all of my players are like, we don't want to learn a new thing. I'm like, but it would be so good if we did. Like,
Yes.
It's
can we
hard.
please just
Yeah.
move over?
It's
So
been I've been an
next campaign
owlbear
I start
baby,
is gonna
and
be like
yeah,
fully Alchemy. Um,
that's been my trend because I backed the Kickstarter and I'm like, I'm
mhm.
getting all this content, and I think it was just the initial port over because I've been just Owlbear Rodeo for a lot of things, but
Mhm. Yeah.
they added map support and stuff like that, and I was like,
Mhm.
I think I just gotta
Yeah.
do it. And I've been the one where it's like I've been too slow to jump on, and it's not. That's where I'm gonna be leading.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very I self-admittedly am a very high maintenance person, right? And so I like the finer things in life, and
Mhm.
alchemy is the finer things in life version of VTTs. So that is very much why I enjoy the
Fantastic.
platform. That, and I love being able to like actually give my players something to watch to help immerse them
Mhm.
into the
Some
game.
people need it. Some people
I'm
really need
I
it.
I know I
really
do.
need the like
Yeah,
I'm okay if I don't have something visual. For me it's music. Like if you don't have some sort of ambient music playing during a
yeah,
game, my brain is wandering. So like I've done a ton of like one shot streams and stuff like that with like friends who have other platforms and stuff, and I'll go on and play, and a lot of the time there's no like ambient music playing, and so I just have Spotify open and I'm playing my own ambient music to my headphones because I'm like, I need some level of that music there in order to keep my
Eh,
immersion.
I hear that, and I think about how wild it is how in the past 2 years I've just encountered so many people that experience the game differently. Some people need a
Mm-hmm.
map. Some people need the
yeah.
handouts.
Mm-hmm.
And this year was the first time I encountered like I think more than one person that literally was just like, "Can you turn the music down, or is there a way only like some people can listen to the music?"
Mm-hmm.
Because for them, the music was distracting.
Mm,
And for
interesting.
Yep.
me, like when my relationship with music is like if it's like lo-fi instrumentals for a vibe thing, I get down with it. If I'm driving or doing a task, I can listen to like a podcast or a talk show or an actual play.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to focus, I can't have anything with words. So
Mm-hmm.
like if I have like a fantasy music but it has like elf like chanting in the background, that's going to distract me. And I know that I'm going to be like taken out
Oh.
of whatever because then I'm going to what the heck is that thing saying? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Uh and it's just everybody has different levels of like like my wife needs like the mini and then the relationship of like how far or how high things are, so everybody experiences their games differently, and it's like what makes things easier for the GM, what makes things easier for the player, like
Yeah.
it's a fun like needle to thread. When I wanted to mention this when we were talking about like the things that are going to stat blocks and the books and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a philosophy on like what's too much, what's too little? You know what I mean? Where it's like if you give too much, then you're almost like I know that there's some stat blocks almost like when we've done monster rankings and it's almost like you're pigeonholing a creature by giving them X amount or making it
Oh
very
yeah.
specific or
So
hey, this like if there was just a little bit extra, it would be that like it would make this so much better.
to give
Is
an
there like almost like
example,
a yeah.
when we did these, we went through and we started ranking like, okay, we're gonna go through and look at all of the like plant monsters and go and rank like
Sure.
what is their level. The while we were doing that, I think it was elementals that gave us a bunch of trouble.
Yeah.
Was there are a lot of monsters that they would write lore for them in connection to other monsters, and for some of them it was like just enough where it was like, oh, this elevates this monster to a higher level because it's like there's this lore there's this like this cool stuff that is associated with them. And for others it would be like, here is 2 additional pages of like lore about how they have interacted with all of these other things, and I'm like, this is too much. Like I can't do anything with this because you've like put too much lore into the
Mhm.
monsters.
I
So
can't do
and
anything without the other thing. This thing
right,
by
if I'm not
itself is,
utilizing the other things, the main thing doesn't
Yeah.
work.
but like,
Um,
like X amount makes things interesting, or it's like we know we want to always hit these points. It's like, oh, if I'm describing a
Yeah.
scene, it's always like smell, hearing, like so is there like almost like a baseline philosophy is like we try to at least cover blank.
So I'll give you some context on the size of our monster vault, and this will really help contextualize what I'm about to tell you. We have 400 monsters in less than 400 pages. So you don't get a lot of room for every creature, right?
sure.
Mhm.
And the majority of those creatures have art too,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So with that, TOV, one of the big things that we've chose to do with the game and how we're really trying to market it is it's streamlined, right? There's there's more things that you can do and there's more options for you, but in terms of like what you really need to understand or what you need to do or how much we
Mm-hmm.
give you, we really cut a lot of the fill, right?
Okay.
A lot of the what's not necessary, and then we take about, I'd say, 15 to 20% of what was cut, right? We then re-implement things like what we're like. I love talking about the Afridi because I get to name. I named a
Mhm.
freaking ability, and I'm like, woo. The Afridi does. The Afridi has some lore on some other creatures that it like doesn't necessarily. It's not necessarily on good terms with, is what I'll say.
Sure.
And that's like briefly mentioned in its flavor, right? Things like that exist all throughout our monster vault. One thing that you can tell when you look at our setting books, for example, is we love interconnection, right? We
Mhm.
love adding those sorts of layers, where maybe you just want to run like a typical high fantasy campaign, or maybe you want that extra layer of illusion and political intrigue, or you want that extra layering of like these groups are all connected in this big wide web of what is the world. Those are things that exist within the Monster Vault. Those are things that exist within the player's guide. When it comes to like what the baseline is, like that I don't necessarily know what like our nitty gritty is for
Mhm.
like word count or
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
pages per monster, but in terms of like the actual like just vibe, like it's 400 creatures in less than 400 pages, so things got to be compact. Our stat blocks are also just smaller in general,
Mhm.
right? Like we spend less time giving creatures like the run of the mill abilities, and we
Mhm.
give them more individual, unique stuff.
Mhm.
So that way, creatures, while the stat blocks are smaller, they feel more like it's actually fighting that creature.
Right.
So yeah,
So you guys focus more on the like making a unique creature and giving like just that like little bit of flavor text to help like give an idea of how to plug them into your world, as opposed to being
yeah,
like, here is the like complex lore of the creature in relation
yeah.
to
I mean, like, and well,
the
again, like I
overarching
said,
stuff.
like we're making a sandbox game,
Right.
right? We're not making
Yeah.
this within Midgard. We're not
Right.
making this within XYZ setting. So we don't need to give all of
Yeah.
that like 2 pages of lore because we don't
Absolutely.
have 2 pages of lore to give you.
Hmm.
Like it's your setting. You get like I think the stat is like it's like 87% of GMs run a homebrew setting,
Hmm.
right? Why do I need to give you 2 pages of Midgard lore?
Yep.
Just
That
let you
that's
run your own dang
really
thing.
yeah. That's actually something that I know that we found that usually makes a creature rank higher when we're like, putting things on just a like, this one above this one above this one is like if it gives us enough where I can do something great with this
Yeah.
without pigeonholing me and feeling like I got to do it like this or I'm wasting stuff or like I only basically need this and this or we end up reflavoring it like all right, we're going to use this whatever and combine it's just like we know we like that bang for our buck type of situation where it's just
Oh,
like
you're getting it with
here's a
Yeah.
dope
TOV.
creature.
the
Yeah.
the ideal amount of information for me is, here is something cool about this thing, here is like
Mhm.
like here is something that you can pull as an idea to like
Mhm.
connect it to your world, or like make it do something or inspire a quest idea or anything like that. Like we had
Yeah.
multiple monsters when we were doing our ranking series where we were like, uh strictly speaking, this monster probably isn't that high. But in reading the stuff about it, it gave us an idea for how we would use it, and it automatically made it rank higher because we were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I would do it like this."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so now we're like, "Oh, that's a great monster because of the idea we've created for it."
Yeah. We
I've
violent fungus. It was a purple fungus, little tiny mushroom. It just got progressively doper with every line we read. We were like, "Oh, we would do something with this little mushroom." We had never
mhm,
heard of it before that
yep,
You
day.
should put it in our adventure, Caverns of the Spore Lord, where you
there you
fight
go.
against evil mushroom monsters.
There
We
you
will
go.
link it in the show notes. Uh
But yeah, there's so much that you can do with a monster, and really all you need is the basic information about them.
Yeah.
Of like, here is like their stat block. Here's what they look like. Here is a few lines about anything. And sometimes you don't even need that. Like if it's just a like the first thing that popped into my mind was a mephit, and I know that Junie will lose his mind if I say that mephits are a basic monster. So I won't use
They're
mephit.
basically awesome. They're
Um,
basically awesome. Yeah.
but yeah, if you just have like a basic little like henchman monster, you don't need a bunch of like lore about it. What has been your favorite part about working on Tales of the Valiant?
The fact that I don't have to worry, right? Um,
That
right,
sounded
like
real. That was real.
Yeah, that's a genuine
uh
answer.
no, like well, so like and I'll give you guys a little context about Zach, right? I,
Hmm.
I said I've been playing D&D since I was 9 years old. Do you want to
Hmm.
know what books were used for my first ever session of Dungeons and Dragons?
Hmm.
Books by Kobold Press, right?
Nice.
So I quite literally was raised on this company,
Yeah.
and it's been around that long to where it can do that, right?
Hmm.
Uh, a kid is able to use the books as a child, and now he's old enough to work at the place.
Yeah.
Um, and so one of the amazing things about that is I know through thick and thin our books are never going to be bad. First
Hmm.
off, that's awesome. I don't have to market bad books, but also like we have a very good company culture, right? I'm treated very well. And one of the amazing things is I don't need to worry about an OGL debacle with Tales of
Sure.
the Valiant,
Yeah.
right? uh we're we're using things from Creative Commons, right, which is
Hmm.
irrevocable. I mean, our CEO is the former editor-in-chief at TSR,
Yep.
right? Like if there's anything about like keeping Dungeons and Dragons with the people, it's at this company.
Hmm.
And so that's what we're really like passionate about, and what I'm really excited about. It's one of the things that's like most exciting and most awesome that I get to work with every day.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, just a lack of worry.
Junie,
What? Hmm.
go for it.
Oh, I was gonna say, when it comes to like, I just have a lot of like community engagement type stuff.
Ask away.
What
I am a community
what's
manager.
what's the best way people can engage, and is it Discord? Is it more of like literal emailing? What's people giving feedback, or like finding other people, like how would you feel is like you would say like this is the general thing? Is it Facebook groups? Where do you lean?
We have a Discord server of over 10,000 users. I highly recommend you join there. We're actually I think it's like in the top 1% of most active Discords in the world.
Nice.
Nice.
There are plenty of people there. We even have a section of the Discord for people who want to write and create under the Black Flag role playing license, right? Which is like our version of the OGL.
Hmm.
Um, if you are a creator and you want to go and show off your work, that's one thing that we actually do that not a whole lot of first party publishers do, is actually show off third party material.
Hmm.
We have a place for that there. We have a place for all the people who just want to talk about the rules and argue and be little rules lawyers to each other. Like I watched a 3-hour conversation and argument about CR the other day, right? And it's just small things like that, right? We have forums in our Discord that go on for ages about every topic you can imagine, and then we also do like generic stuff where like I ask you what your favorite fantasy protagonist is, or
Hmm.
what's the most obscure ruling you've seen at your table. We even do like not super TTRPG related stuff, like we did the best Disney movie. We did a 48 Disney movie bracket,
Hmm.
where it was all voted on by the Discord.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. Uh, all I know is some movies got done dirty. But but that's just like a peek of like what our Discord is. I'd say like
Yeah.
if the best way to engage, especially with us, right? Because I'm also
Hmm.
I'm active in our Discord every single day. I see our art director constantly coming in and answering questions about like our art. Or if they're like if people ask like what's a book that has like this in it? Because I'm trying to find this to like maybe I want some character art, or maybe
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
want a scene that I can like screenshot and put into my Roll20 game.
Hmm.
Oh, cool. Yeah, here's a place that you can do that. What's an adventure? Uh, all of our staff are always like coming in and answering questions, engaging with the community. We even have a whole section of in our Discord called Questions for Designers, where you can just pop a question in, and the people who actually wrote the dang book will answer the question for you.
Nice.
That's
So yeah,
fantastic. That's a level that I know we're all spoiled because we're in the future, right? So we can actually, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
before it was like you saw a book or you saw something somewhere, it's just like, wow, I'll never be able to engage or, communicate with or in any way, shape, or form interact with this. It's set in stone. It's the people behind it are a mystery. And to go like, I can ask the designer or get a clarification that isn't like, it's better than Google because then, instead of like going through Google and digging through like Reddit threads, you can actually like ask some place where there's people that are directly knowledgeable or wrote the dang thing.
Hmm.
yeah.
Um, then I'm sure this probably comes up a lot then, and I know this is a thing me and Hunter do all the time where we talk about reflavoring things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, so do you have a favorite like reflavoring of something, a piece of content that you've seen or that you've done? Like I know my big thing at my tables is usually like I just reaffirm to players like as long as we're not really messing with the math, I don't care how you describe whatever it is. So I've had like a wizard cast magic missile and he's like, "Can I make it look like little tiny flaming chickens that like I don't want to do fire damage, I just want it to look like little flaming chickadees." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, go for it." Like
So
there's nothing wrong there.
yeah, so one of the things that we actually introduced in Deep Magic 2
Mhm.
is I'm trying to make sure I get the name right. I think it actually is variant casting. Or
Mhm.
it's like spell variation or something like that. It's towards the back of the book. It actually allows you to do that, but like on a mechanical level. So it shows you how to
Mm.
turn fireball into radiant damage, right? And how to
Oh,
describe that and what that looks like. It shows you
That's
how to
cool.
take turn the dead into like instead of like bringing an undead creature out, you bring a creature from the heavens, right? Um things like that
mm.
where it actually shows you how to like reflavor and change that sort of
Oh.
stuff. So
Oh, that's a fun reflavoring.
I
Huh.
we
like that a lot.
we we're all about like taking your favorite spells, taking your favorite class options and tuning them into a way where it really fits your power fantasy. And that's something that we really try to explore in Tales of the Valiant is like it's such a specialized game where like you're given so many options. Like when you take a look at like 5e, right? You pick race, background, class, and subclass. With TOV, you pick lineage, you pick heritage, you pick background, you pick adventuring motivation, then you pick class, then you pick subclass. And then on top of that, your weapons have weapon options, which are like, for example, like if I pick a sword, like if I pick like a short sword, right? That short sword has like special effects that only certain other swords can do. Or if I pick a polearm
Cool.
or a spear,
Yeah.
those each have like their own like special sorts of melee effects.
Kind of like how
Um,
kind of like in Baldur's Gate, how like if you're using the great axe, you can do the cleave thing to like hit
Mm.
through like multiple enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah, we pulled this from So Many Heroes, so it's a lot
Mhm.
older than Baldur's Gate, but
Yeah,
yes.
just
I'm
uh,
sure.
to put it into a current comparison.
yeah,
I'm like
it's so funny because
500 hours into
we
Baldur's
had
Gate right now.
we had this conversation in Discord where people were asking about weapon options. They were like,
Yeah.
"Did you guys take that from Baldur's Gate?"
No, I'm aware that it's
Tome Heroes
a
was released
longer.
years ago. It comes from Tome Heroes.
We went back
Yeah.
into the past. Yeah, we were like, we got to put this in there yesterday. So,
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the most resounding pieces of the book outside of I like another one thing that people really love was the black powder sorcerer, which is like you use mage hands to shoot pistols.
That's cool.
Um,
I like that a lot.
yeah, there's an art piece where it's this like sorcerer and he's like this and he has six mage hands all holding guns around him, and it's one of the most badass pieces of art. Um,
What is it called?
I'm gonna uh,
the black powder sorcery.
That's
I'm gonna be
amazing.
sending you my Google Drive link, and I'm like, could you just put a bunch of things in there for me, please?
I
Just
Instead
put in a
of
bunch
doing
of things.
that, I can you can make a Global Press account. And I can just get you some books.
I
Um,
have one. I will send you my email. 'Cause
there you go.
like
We'll make it happen.
I don't have the physical books like Hunter does, but I do have things like I reference the I was never a nitty gritty I was really big on just using like modules and stuff like that because I like using things where it does like a lot of the legwork for me. And I use my processing power to like manipulate and mess with that. Like I
Hmm.
had at one point I think 5 different Icewind Dale campaigns because I can keep track of different timelines and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And last year I had a group that wanted me to do like really hardcore keep track of like arrows and currency and weight mechanics, and like they wanted to build a fort from the ground up. And
Hmm.
the thing I'd got was the campaign builder cities and towns,
Hmm.
and that held my hand through coming up with an economy. And because I had never gone that deep into flushing out a city
Yeah.
from the ground up.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, size, scope, population, exports, and I was just like, I the layout was perfect, and it's exactly what I need. So I have like those as like my digital things.
Yeah.
But that held my hand. Um, but now now I want to do the black powder sorcery thing. I have a lot of punch wizards, but I don't have a lot of gun wizards. Uh, yeah. Hunter,
Yeah.
was there? Let me see. I think there was something here I know that I wanted you to touch on. Um, I think it was I was just gonna make Hunter pick his favorite, like, because I know you have more than one thing.
Oh
So I was just like,
no.
if you
My
I'm
have, yeah,
favorite
I
sending.
know.
what? My favorite book or my favorite thing from a book?
I just sent the image of the Black
Yes.
Powder Sorcerer in that Twitter
Oh
group
my
chat.
goodness.
The answer is
Um
I
yes, Hunter.
just see it.
Because it's one of those things where it's like we use a lot, but I know we go back to certain things. And I know Hunter has a special place in his heart for all of his Kobold Press content, and to make him go like pick your favorite. And it's like just to see him squirm.
No
Oh,
pressure.
that
I
is
won't look
dope.
at you any different.
I'm gonna need a minute.
I will. Zach, what about you? If you had to pick a favorite child, like, is there something that you're just like, I always come back to blank, or like, I'll nothing will ever top blank?
Um, so in terms of like our products in general, I have a special place in my heart for both Kobold Guide to Dungeons, because it's the first book that we printed that had my name in it as the community
Nice.
manager.
That's really
But
cool.
also Deep Magic 1 and 2 are the first Kickstarter that we fulfilled that had my name in it. Because that's like I started at the company, and then 2 weeks later we launched the Deep Magic 2 Kickstarter.
Hmm.
That's
Um,
dope.
so
That's cool.
those books have special places in my heart. In terms of like a favorite creature, Toma Beast 3, the Dread Examiner. It's a CR 21 monster. It's got like 360 hit points. Its whole thing is it's like a psychological horror monster. So like its whole thing is
Oh,
like when
There's
you're
crazy stuff in that book.
when you're within like 600 feet of its lair, you start experiencing illusions. So like when I used it in an encounter where people were trying to do a heist, I made it to where like you see a flock of birds flying upside down,
okay.
right?
All
And
right.
then
Yeah.
they were all like pretty high levels, so they were able to fly. So like they try to fly up to start trailing the birds. And I said the birds instantly crane their necks upside down to all look at you.
Mm,
And it's just like creepy, weird stuff like that. They got into the house, and the house was it was like the house of a famous like hunter. And he had like collected
No relation.
artifacts and skinned animals.
another
And
famous
so
hunter.
like
Yes.
there was like a taxidermied boar. And they someone's like, can I investigate the boar, or can I investigate like all the props in the uh like animals in the room? And I was like, yeah. You start looking around, and you come up to the boar, that this taxidermy boar. It's quite the fur's still soft to the touch. You can tell this is a recent kill. Um, and all of a sudden, a tear starts shedding from its eye. Stuff like that. So just small things like that that allow you to really like play mess with your players' heartstrings.
That's a skill I didn't realize I had until I did like a kind of horror game that I didn't realize was gonna get as deep as it was.
Yeah,
It's real when you can it's those little things you don't tell in games, like it doesn't need to be written down or whatever, that
yeah.
inform your players of things. So something simple like that teardrop, or you have a big bad that's acting one way but you see everybody else shaking. and crying and like being you're like it informs everybody else. It's all those little unseen things that can just like, ooh, look at Hunter struggling so hard to
Dude, there's
find the
so
thing.
much is the problem. And it's like I have things in mind and then they're like, which book was it in? Yeah, there's so many good things. I really enjoy like all of the Tome of Beasts are really good. Like everything in them is fantastic. I think I'm gonna go with, just as a like a more unique thing. I really like in Southlands. There is a whole chapter about like the Knoll lands, which I think is very, very cool. And it's just like a lot of like cool lore about gnolls, and that you don't get a whole lot of gnoll lore in a lot of things. Dabu, Land of the Gnolls. Um,
Oh,
but it's just like
um,
a ton of stuff.
in the Midgard World Book, one of my favorite tidbits of lore to give people is if you go, I think it's to the northeast, there is a order of pirates called the Order of the Black Flag,
Nice.
and that's existed for years. So that was like our
Classic.
year-old teasing of things.
That's
But yeah,
awesome. But yeah, there's like I could go through all of my books and pull out like random stuff that I love from each one, but
Yeah.
yeah, the first Tome of Beasts will always hold a special place in my heart, just because it was one of the first like third party books that I got.
Mhm.
Because
It was a
up
lot of
in
people's introduction.
yeah, well, a lot of the like a lot of my experience with D&D up until that point was like, oh, well, there's D&D, and then there's like these people that make like fan content and publish it,
Mm-hmm.
and like I don't want to look at like unofficial fan content. And then somebody bought me the first Tome of Beasts, and I started flipping through it, and I was like, oh wait, this is better. This is good. This is good stuff. I like these monsters. There's fun stuff to play with here. The
Think you're
first
that
like
person
the
or
first
body
time
that.
that I like started flipping through it, I just had sticky notes and was just putting sticky notes on different pages and writing little things on it. I'm like, okay, I want to use this for this area and these, and I just went full like hardcore deep dive on it. And like after that first one, I was like, okay, well, this company does good stuff. Awesome. I can like make a mental note that if I see this company, I know that their stuff will be good. Hit Point Press is another one where I was like, I hadn't interacted with any of their stuff, and then read through the stuff from Humblewood, and I was like, this is adorable. Like I like very different vibe, but like it's so much fun. um so like anything that you guys put out, I'm a fan of. But the majority of what I've gotten from you guys has been the monster manual ones, because they're so good. Like the Tome of Beasts, or right, Tome of Beasts, yeah, my brain is bad. Tome of Beasts and the Creature Codex are like just there's so between those there's so much content. The layers one is the next thing that I need to look into, because I haven't picked those up, and I've heard very good things about them.
Thank you, thank you.
We're getting close to time. Was there because once going back to the teeth situation, I think you had said something about there was a doc that was a doc that you felt comfortable spilling tea from. I don't know if you've already dove into it. I don't
I
want to.
have, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Was there anything else that you were like looking forward to or excited
Oh,
to go like that? You know,
I
you
have not.
can or
I've not dived into it on this stream. I've not said
okay,
anything that
all
the
right, yeah,
show
yeah.
related
I
yet.
don't know what you can or can't say. But
It's our
like, is
preview
there
PDF.
anything you
I'm
know?
allowed to talk about it. Of course I am.
Okay,
It's
well,
the
I just
preview.
I don't wanna say something that was said,
Junie
like,
just doesn't
in
want to
pr
get you in trouble for like,
yeah,
hey,
it's
can you
just like,
talk
"Hey,
about this
so
thing? And then you're in an awkward position of like, not really,
Yeah,
but I
here's our
don't want to say
Kickstarter stuff for
no,
no.
3 years.
no, shut
Yeah.
up, please." Yeah, so that's that, yeah. Uh, but I is there
No,
something specifically you know you wanna talk about, hype up, excited
What
for, anything like
what
that.
tea do you want to spill right now?
Yes.
Absolutely. So
Give
I
us
will spill
that
the
give
tea
us
about
that
the
good
Game Master's
Warlocks and
Guide.
Waffles exclusive.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
Mm-mm-mm.
Exclusive. For those who don't know, very soon, live on Kickstarter will be the Tales of the Valiant Game Master's Guide. This is not a core rulebook. You don't need this to play Tales of the Valiant, but it is a book for those who have advanced players at their table, who want to go above and beyond, and as we're calling it, beyond the basic. Right. So, for example, like chapter 1 is some general advice on how to be a GM, but then it also goes into things like what are the archetypes of actual players, right? You have the min maxer, you have the role player, those sorts of things. We talk about like maintaining your game, checking in on players who maybe recently experienced a PC death, actual like mindful wellness tips as a GM. The main of the preview PDF itself actually focuses on the homebrewers toolkit. So we talk about world building, we talk about the flavors of fantasy, like how to actually create your lore from the ground up. But the preview PDF itself talks about something that we're kind of bringing back into relevance from an older edition. Of D&D. It's always existed, but it's becoming a lot more prominent, which is monster templates. So one thing that you'll see throughout the Kickstarters, we actually talk about the amazing monster templates in the preview PDF and all the cool things that you can do with them. So you can make a skeleton owl bear or a shadow owl bear,
Nice.
and you can take those same templates and apply them onto any of your favorite creatures. I mean, from like doing things like a giant ape skeleton to an owl bear zombie, or even to something like on the cover of the Monster Vault, which is the Red Dragon Lich. So uh, that's one thing that is really exciting and is coming to Kickstarter soon. So that's like what's up next for us at Kobold Press.
Very cool.
I'm really excited.
I'm excited. I can't wait to get my like I don't know about you. I don't know how much you like do on Kickstarter outside of the like Kobold Press Kickstarters that you're involved in. I back Kickstarters so often. They are
He has a problem.
I have a problem.
I
They
also
are,
have a problem.
they are my presence to future me, because I have bad like object permanence and will forget that I've backed something, and then
Aw.
a year and a half will go by and a box will show up and it's like, here's a bunch of books you don't remember ordering.
Yeah.
So I love Kickstarters. But I am I don't like reading over the PDFs before I've read over the like hardcovers. So I will
Okay.
have like the preview PDFs and the sample PDFs and stuff like that long before the Kickstarter ever like ships the stuff to me, and I refuse to read them. I'm like, I want my
Okay.
first interaction with this material to be like having it in
The
front
final
of me
book.
and like looking through it.
Yeah.
And so like all of the like there's probably a dozen Kickstarters that I have PDFs for that I don't have the actual books for yet. And I'm like, man, I really wish I had access to this content. And it's like, I do have access to it. It's my own stubbornness that is preventing me from using it.
Yeah, for sure.
I cannot wait for the Tales of the Valiant books to show up. Because I
I'm
have
very excited. Yes.
I have the like foil versions coming, and they will look so pretty next to my Deep Magic foil versions.
Just
I'm so
wait. Just
excited.
wait till you see the foil version for the Game Master's Guide.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Heavy breathing.
I dropped
breathing.
the link in the chat for the like the Game Master's Guide one, so that people can save that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please get notified to launch.
Notified on launch. Because yes, it's awesome. I cannot wait to see it. There's so much stuff that is just amazing in like from what I've seen in the Tales of the Valiant one, and from what I've heard from you, the Game Master's Guide is going to be just as cool. So I cannot wait to get into it. I think that there's something very, very cool about being like, hey, this system that you guys already know and love and like have content for and want to be able to continue running, but want to do something a little different. Like this
Yeah.
is compatible with it. Like that's a a very valuable resource, because especially for somebody like me, where I'm like, I would love to do something that isn't like strictly 5e, but I have so much content for 5e.
Yeah,
Like
that's another really big thing, is
everything
like
that
you
I
don't want your
have
books
is
to be
for
irrelevant.
5e because like that's what I've ran for a decade. Like
Yeah,
it's a lot. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited to see like the finalized product of Tales of the Valley, because
we're
it's
very
just
excited to get it to you.
it's so nice. And you guys do great work. So
Thank you, thank you.
and Junie, any last things before we wrap up here?
Real dumb, and I told myself to not do it. But we had a little like group chat before we jumped in here, and there was gonna be another friend of ours joining us, and I don't think he responded.
He
I'm real
didn't
dumb.
respond.
He didn't respond, but I mean, you know, Zach, you tell me if this is inappropriate, and just we'll skip it. But somebody else was gonna join us, and he couldn't, and I asked if we could spill the tea on why they're not here. You tell me if that's like, no, let's not do
And
that, or we can
just
just say, tell people
wildly
why.
speculate about
Yeah,
why
wildly speculate
yeah.
why they're not here.
Kendo, my media production manager, has a terrible sleep schedule. You heard it here first.
Oh no,
I
dang.
I feel like why wasn't he asleep earlier, that he was too tired to be here?
Whether
I
it was his game of Civ Rev, whether it was his Minecraft.
Civ. Oh, my
Minecraft.
Minecraft is
He has another game. I forget the name of it, but it's like the one with the map, where like you fight for territory. Um,
it's
Fortnite?
no,
Civilization.
no, it's not Civ. It's like just the map. Like it's not like you develop like an army or a civilization or anything.
Risk.
No, it's what's it called? It's like
Monopoly?
development. No, one sec. I'm going to his profile.
It's just full blown stalk
my,
and or shit talk.
my I got really
Diplomacy.
diplomacy. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, I've
yeah.
heard of this. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It might also be their game of diplomacy.
That's very fair. All valid reasons to be too tired to do something. So, Kendo, we would love to have you on. You can come on and talk nonsense with us, whenever you want to. Just make sure you go to bed, bud. You like sleep
Because
is
we will
important.
call you out.
dude.
We will, like, you can't
Um,
defend yourself if you're not here, and we will just
yeah.
it'll get progressively worse.
Yeah, I've been really into Baldur's Gate and have had like several very late night playing Baldur's Gate. And my wife has always been like incredulous of like, why are you playing this so late into the night? And then last weekend I got her to like try playing it, and she started the day, but like I'm not one of those people that can just sit down and play a video game for 4 hours. She played for over 7 hours that day, and we have played multiple times since then. And we have like nothing on the schedule this weekend, so we're like, oh, we can have a Baldur's Gate weekend. And I'm fully expecting eventually we'll hit that point where it's just like, it's so late and we should go to bed. And I'm very excited for that. We just entered the I think we just entered the Githyanki crash in the mountain pass, and I'm very excited to go through the rest of that with her. Zach, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Of course, yeah.
Anything else you want to shout out before we wrap up here?
Kobold Guide to Role Playing goes live soon. You should check that out. It's got essays from like Clint McElroy and Luke Gygax
I
on
love
how to
Clint
be a
so
good role
much.
player.
He's
Yeah,
such
they're
a
amazing
sweetheart.
humans. And they're amazing role players. So seriously,
Yeah.
check that book out. Join our Discord. Come chat to me. Come get annoyed as people argue over things like challenge rating and whether or not the Warlock should exist. Because for some reason, that's a thing that people like to argue about.
Oh, I love the Warlock
they,
so much.
they don't actually say
Our
the
show-
Warlock shouldn't exist,
our
but
show
holy
is
crap, do they
about
love
it,
to
man.
argue at the Warlock. It has like
Dude.
it's our largest thread It's our largest
people
forum
have
in the Discord.
strong opinions about warlocks.
Yes, and we changed the warlock a lot.
Nice.
So for the better. But yeah, I think that is everything. You can find me on Twitter, same username as the Twitch, Zach types underscore. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Zach, we wrap up every episode with just calls to action, just usually nonsense ones.
Sure.
Just 3 calls to action. Can you give us just 3 calls to action for this weekend for our viewers? In the past, some of them have included things like go on a walk, like drink water, go on a road trip.
Yeah, if you need inspiration, this weekend is International Skeptics Day. On Saturday,
Is it?
make your dreams
No, it's
come
not.
true. Yeah, Saturday is International Skeptics Day is
If you
tomorrow.
believe in that
Make
sort
your
of
dreams
thing.
come true day. Make your dream come true day is tomorrow, and National Rubber Ducky Day is tomorrow. And
Wow.
Dress Up Your Pet Day is on Sunday.
Wow.
Like that, I wrote down all the holidays.
An important week this week.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
dude, so
So
eventful.
if you need help, yeah.
So the first call to action is actually more so of a warning.
Ooh,
Don't put holly leaves and berries in your water.
yes.
You can't make tea with it. The
Okay.
berries are poisonous and the leaves are prickly. Uh,
Okay.
the
Yep.
the next thing, call someone a kobold. People love being called kobolds. Kobolds
Mm.
are great. You should call people kobolds more often.
Call
Um,
people addendum. Call people kobolds lovingly.
Yes, lovingly. Don't call someone a kobold meanly. Okay. Listen, our intelligence is not that high, but we mean it with love. Um, and then yeah, just and then once you've been called a kobold or call someone a kobold, dig a tunnel.
Excellent.
Jeez.
But make sure you have the permits for it, not like that lady who was
I was gonna say, on whose property?
who was digging a tunnel
Yeah,
under her property.
yeah, don't do
Have you
that.
watched those videos? It's wild.
Yes,
That's a
it's
TikTok's a wild
insane.
place, man. Um
It's insane.
You heard it. You heard it here first, folks. Don't drink holly leaves. Call people kobolds and dig tunnels. Those are your missions for this week. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Embrace the nonsense, and we'll see you like next time. Bye, guys.